dolly friends! If this is your first visit to the doll cupboard, you might feel a little bit tricked into stopping by today, but as regular subscribers will know, I simply can't resist a bit of cheek. Either way, I hope you'll stay because you'll find the title of this week's video is actually a precise description of this week's content. A couple of weeks ago, Mrs. Twizzleman informed me that her daughters and some of the other dolls approached her with some demands. The modern woman votes and even wears trousers, so why shouldn't she avail herself of the new disposable sanitary products for her monthlies? We're tired of rinsing out old rags. We want disposable pads and even tampons. So of course, I had to get to work to help poor Mrs. Twizzleman. I went online and found some great images. I also found a great website called the Museum of Menstruation. Here's my little mock-ups that I just kind of did a little prototype to see what I was doing. If you stay past the outro today, I'll include a little fun trivia that I got from the website. I wanted to start with the belts because I wasn't really sure about how to construct them. As you saw in the last clip, I tried a little prototype with some elastic and it just seemed so bulky. My cousin said I was overthinking it, so I thought I would just try some simple circles cut out of lace to kind of imitate some, a little belt with the little tabs where you can attach the pads. I decided to complicate it anyway, as I do, so I'm going to include some of this hardware. Just grabbed some other bits of lace and started doing the same thing. Cut this longer piece off of the same lace, and I'll just put one in the front and one in the back, and those can be the little straps to hold the pad. I'm just using tacky glue. This one is similar to the first one, but I think I'll leave off the hardware. Here's one of my little mock-up boxes with my little prototype belt and my prototype pad. I was really kind of excited to do these little pads because I had something in mind. I have this non-woven sponges or gauze. You can use regular gauze or even paper towels, but I like the layered look of this and I've used it for other things in the infirmary. I didn't want the layers to come apart when I started cutting it, so I kind of stuck it together with some glue stick. It wasn't very effective. I think just using regular glue on your finger, just plain white glue would work just fine. And I do end up using that and forsaking my glue stick. So I just folded it in half and cut these longer pieces, which I can cut in half. That way I could make more of them faster. That's really the only reason I did that. As you can see, I wasn't too worried about perfection. I decided to use this fusible webbing, that kind that you put in your hem and you can just iron it closed. It comes in a little round spool like tape. I thought that would make the perfect outer layer of the pad. I put the webbing on both the front and back of the pad, but the glue stick just didn't work very well, so I just went to my plain white glue. When they're all done, they look like this, and then you can just trim around the edges and you can shape them up a little bit more if you want to or not. You can leave them just like they are, but I have this cool bandage tape. It's blue. It's made by 3M. I don't know anything else about what it's called. It's not super sticky, but I like the way it looks, and it looks like things that would be on the ends of the pads where you could attach them to the belt. So I thought I would go ahead and use this. And I just put some nice long pieces on both ends, and then I trimmed it up. You can see them up in the right-hand corner there. I'm really liking the way these are turning out. It is a lot of tedious work to do a little project like this. Even though it's not difficult, it just takes a little time and patience. So here are some of the ones I did. I put the blue on some of them and some I left like that. Now the packaging. I just did a simple search for some miniature PDF boxes, and I just printed the screenshot because that kind of gave me the size I was looking for. And on the advice of most of you, I decided to really take my time and score the pieces so that they would fold up nicely, and it worked really well. Thank you all for reminding me to do that. And then I just took some of those pieces that I had cut out from that I showed you in the beginning and tried to make my own boxes. And I just started piecing things together to cover up what was already there and add some labels. And this part was actually a lot of fun because I got to kind of design the boxes the way I wanted them to be. So this was really fun, a little collage project kind of. What you see me doing is just using my little marker to color the edges so that it doesn't look so white and new. A lot of the old packaging was really kind of plain in terms of color. So I'll probably use a little paint on the inside of the boxes just so they're not so new white. If you ever find things that come in old packages, the whites of the pages or boxes are not very bright. They're kind of a little bit off-white or even a kind of a beige color. I couldn't get that to come out clearly, but it says woman's oldest hygienic problem, which I thought was really kind of funny. It wasn't until I had finished making everything else that I had decided I better make some tampons. They were available for sale during the 1930s, and my dolls, being nurses, were aware of the use of tampons for other things, especially for wounds and lacerations of soldiers. During this time, they did become available commercially as a menstrual product. I'm using some embroidery floss, which I've separated so that I just have a single thread, just to wrap around the Q-tip. I colored it in so that, again, I wouldn't have that white to deal with, because I am going to wrap it in some white tissue paper. They could be packaged just as they are, because it looks like the coloring is a covering for the tampon itself, but I'm going to go ahead and wrap them in here. So the string is just so you get a hint of that underneath the tissue paper. I was so excited after I made my little tampons that I wanted to see how they looked in the box and if they were just the right size, and I think they are. So yeah, I'm just using a little diluted paint very sparingly to get rid of that bright white. The solution would really be to print it on some off-white paper. And I went ahead and added some cotton and gauze to the inside of the boxes, and I added some information to the lids and part of the boxes. For some reason, I decided that I wanted to tie my pads together in bundles. I just assumed that that might be something that would have been done during that time. I'm not basing that on anything, just kind of on how sometimes things were packaged. So yeah, it was really fiddly, and I should have just left well enough alone, but I did it. I'm going to go ahead and package up the ones I didn't wrap, because as we all know, different brands have different looks. And this box, I've decided, contains both tampons for heavier days and some for lighter days. Well, here was pretty much everything after I had laid it all out, and I'm really happy with the way all my little products turned out. I'm going to get everything wrapped and get it over to Mrs. Twisselman so she can give it to the dolls. Mrs. Twisselman came over and picked up the packages and brought them back over to the dolls, who were waiting for her. They all sat around the infirmary and opened all their modern menstrual supplies. Thank you all so much for stopping by today. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to stay past the outro for some fun things that I learned from the Museum of Menstruation website. Please come back and visit me next time in the doll cupboard. I always called my period the curse, and I called tampons plugs. Here's some fun code words I found on the Museum of Menstrual History website. Can't go swimming. Driving in a red car. Leak week. Jam and bread. It's raining down south. St. Mency's. Monthly bill. And a couple of my favorites. Flying her colors. That's a World War II phrase. When your male colleague asks you why you need to leave work early, you just say, it's gender specific. I can't churn the butter today. That's from a book that lists things women couldn't historically do while they were on their periods. And one of my favorites is Ugly Sister with her luggage supplies. Leave a comment with your code word.